Alrighty then, welcome to day number 5 of the animation formula. Today we are going to be going through and actually start animating this animation that we've been working on. So far we started out by creating the storyline using thumbnail storyboards, then we designed the character using character sheets, and then we went through and created the layout for each scene of the animation. And then today we are going to go through and start animating the individual actions that will make up the story. Now, obviously, because animation is kind of time-consuming, you're not going to watch me animate the entire animation because that would be hours upon hours of you just sitting there, like, watching me, like, do little things that aren't really going to help you. But, so what I'm going to do is there are 3 stages that I typically follow when I'm animating an action. And, the first one is the key poses, and that's what you see right here. Basically, I've already done the key poses during the layout of the scene. So each one of these, as you can see, that's a key pose, and then he comes down and he's in a preparation for licking the ice cream. That's another key pose. He licks the ice cream. That's another key pose, and then he's back over here. That's another key pose. So I've kind of done the key poses already for this scene, and so then the next step is to go through and do the passing positions, and then after that we'll go through and do the in-betweens. And once we've done the passing position, or once you've done the key poses, the passing positions, and the in-betweens, then you're done animating the action. So what I'm going to do is this little part that I'm cycling through right now up to right here is what I'm going to show you animated. You're going to be able to watch me animate, and so as you can see, the key poses are already done, so I'm going to pause this video, I'm going to go through and do the passing positions, and then I'm going to start recording again, and then I will go through and show you what the passing positions are, and then we'll continue from there. So I'm just going to pause this video real quick, and then I will be right back. Alrighty then, I'm back, and I've gone through and I've done all of the passing positions for this part of the scene. And just really quick, I want to just go over one more time what the key poses were. And each one of these scenes or poses you're seeing right here was a key pose in this series of actions. So he first pops in, then he's preparing to take a lick, then he's just finished taking a lick, then he's kind of smiling and he's sliding off screen, and then he's off screen here. And then, so what I've done is I've gone through and I've created the passing positions, which are going to be, as you can see right here, are just kind of this green stuff. I did this so that you could easily identify the difference between the key poses and the passing positions. So he's got a key pose there, and this is the passing position between these two key poses. And as you can see, a lot of people, or at least beginning animators, they would probably just have him animate straight in. But what you'll find out is when you don't have your characters move in straight lines, you move them in arches, you'll create a much more pleasing animation and much more interesting animation. So so between those two key poses, this was the passing position, this green one right here, and then come over here, and between him looking at the audience and then preparing for the lick, you can see there's another passing position right here. And in this one, the arch is kind of going up. So over here, he went in a downward, down and then up. Here he's going up and then down into the preparation. Then here, this was the preparation for the lick. This is the passing position of the lick, and then right here we see the like after effect of him licking once he was done licking. Then here is here's the passing position in between the key pose of the lick and then the key pose of him kind of just smiling at the audience before he heads off screen. And you'll notice that I kept the same pose of him, like his head I drew in this passing position with the tongue still out and everything, because in this animation I want to really exaggerate how long his tongue is out and how like big of a lick it was. So it's going to be a really long drawn out lick, and then last minute he's going to pull it in and smile as he then slides off screen here. And once again, as you can see here with this passing position, it's a down and then up, so it's another arched movement. And you should do the same thing with your passing positions. Don't have them be right in between. In other words, we could have had the head be right here in between these two, but instead I put it a little bit lower because I want it to kind of go in an arc of a movement. And then he's off screen, and that's pretty much it for this little action, that little part of the scene. Now I'm going to pause the video again. I'm going to go through and do all of the in-betweens, and then I'll come back and I will show you what the in-betweens look like, and I'll explain a little bit about that. Alright, see you in just a sec. Okay, so I've gone through and I've done the in-betweens, and as you can see here, the black drawings are the in-betweens, and everywhere where you see a green or blue or outline, like kind of like this, see these green ones, that's a passing position, and then this is a key pose, and then there's another passing position right there, and there's a key pose, and so on. But all the black ones are the in-betweens. So as you can see here, what we have is right here, this was a key pose, and this was a key pose. Here was our, this green one right here is our passing position, and then this black one and these two black ones on this side were the two in-betweens. And basically, as you can see, the in-betweens are just the frames that were in between the key poses and the passing positions. We'll move on to kind of right here. There you go. Okay, so this was the key pose, this was a key pose, passing position was in between, and we've got this black one right here, this black frame here, and this one right here were the two in-betweens for that action. Then move over here, and it gets a little bit more complicated, as you can see, because they're closer together, but I think you get the general idea. I'll just turn this onion skin off here. Basically, we got our key pose here. Comes down to a passing position, comes up, and then comes down. I'll just play this through for you really quickly. Now, as you can see, this animation still has some problems. It's pretty good, and it's almost there, and you could actually probably get away with it. You could probably get away with leaving it the way it is. But there are some details that I kind of want to fix that I think will add a little bit of extra life that will make it kind of stand out and be, well, more awesome, I guess is the word. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video one more time, pause this recording one more time while I go through and I fix a few things on this on these actions. But before I do, I just want to kind of show you what it is that I'm going to be fixing. First of all, I want to point out, obviously, right here, all of a sudden his face disappears, and then it reappears right here. The reason why is because it has to transition between his face looking forward and his face, and then his face looking, sideways right here. So I haven't animated that in. So that's a detail, obviously, that we couldn't do without, that has to be fixed. But also over here, I want you to notice that his head is kind of from a three-quarter. His head is kind of from a three-quarter profile view, and it's kind of from above. So you're looking kind of more at the top of his head. And then suddenly, here, his head switches to a different pose that is still from a three-quarter, but it's from below. And I haven't done the transition between there. There should be at least 2 or 3 frames that transition between the above view to the below view. And so I'm going to do that in this... I'm going to fix that, and then also I want there to be a kind of a dragging of the tongue. If you notice, his tongue is very static. It's just kind of been sticking out there. when it hits the ice cream and his head keeps moving up, I'm going to have his tongue kind of linger behind and kind of like it's stuck to the ice cream. And right here, it'll still be dragged down, and then and there it'll probably still be kind of stretched out. And then suddenly, when he comes back, his tongue will come back into his mouth, and he'll close his mouth here, and then he'll move into that. And I think it'll just add a little bit of extra life to that animation by extending his tongue and kind of stretching it out right there. The final thing that I'm going to be fixing is if you pay attention to his hands here, uh, it pretty much stays in the same pose. I haven't redrawn his hand for most of these. But then all of a sudden, when we hit a new keyframe, notice his hand changed right there. It may not be very noticeable in the animation, but it kind of bothers me, and I want to do a little bit of a smoother transition between those two. And then all of a sudden right here, it transitions to that hand pose, and then suddenly transitions back. And none of those have very clean transitions. They're instant. And so I'm going to prolong that, maybe change the hand pose around, just try and make it look a little bit better. But I'll fix those couple of details in the final pass of this animation, and then this action of this, or at least the animation as far as this second stickman coming in and licking the ice cream is concerned, will be finished. So I'll just go ahead and I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go and fix those, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what I've done and show you the animation when it's completed. Alright, so I'm back. I've gone through and I've done the final pass. I've done the little details and extra things that just add a little bit of extra life, and I fixed some things that, you know, kind of blatantly need fixed that we really couldn't have gone without. But let's just go over all the few details that I just went over. First of all, let me just show you how it was then, and then I'll show you how it is now. So this is what it used to be like before I went and fixed the details. Now this is what it looks like now that I've added the details. As you can see, it's quite a bit better. I just fixed a few little things, but it added a whole lot of extra life to this animation. So now that you've seen the difference in action, let's go through and I'll show you each individual thing that I did. First of all, let's look at the old one really quickly. I want to point out one of the most important things, and we're going to first look at what we changed with his head movement. First of all, notice here, right when his head starts moving, suddenly his face disappears, and then when it reappears, it's in a more sideways position, whereas over here he was looking straight at the audience. Here it's much more sideways, and his mouth's open, his tongue sticking out and stuff. That needs a transition. That's something that we couldn't just leave without. You know, it's too glaring of a flaw, and you know, it just needs to be done. So I fixed that, and so let me just show you that really quickly. What I did was just basically that. It was let's see, 1, 2, 3 frames to transition from there to there. It was fairly simple, you know, no big deal. And so then, the next thing I did was, notice how his head is kind of staying in one pose, his tongue isn't moving, and then all of a sudden his head goes from down view to where you're looking down at the head to a view where you're looking up at the head. And there's no transition, nothing smooth, nothing about it, so that kind of irritated me. And also, the tongue is very static, and so I remember I talked about how I was going to drag it down and stuff. So I fixed that in the next one. And then also here, all of a sudden he goes from wide open, tongue sticking out, to mouth completely closed and or smiling. And the tongue's not there anymore, so I transitioned that too. Let me just show you what I did. Oops, there we go. Alright, so comes down, prepares for the lick, and then right here, you'll notice the tongue is changing. Actually, I think the only tongue pose that I saved that was the original one is this one right here. The rest of them I redrew. And you'll notice I didn't actually redraw the head. I just redrew the tongue, and it made all the difference in the world. which just goes to show that you can change little details. You don't have to do a whole lot of extra work, but you can add a lot of extra life to your animations. And one thing I want you to notice is watch his tongue as it kind of stretches out as he pulls away, and right there all of a sudden it's super stretched. It's because I wanted to create the feeling that he's kind of taking a big long lick, and he's eating a lot of ice cream at once, because obviously he's got to take a big old chunk out of the ice cream cone. And then right here his tongue kind of flings back and pulls it back into his tongue. You can see we're transitioning into to the next pose here, and then he slides off screen. Now that didn't take me a whole lot of work, but it really made the difference, and I think it was definitely well worth the time to go through and add this little bit of extra detail. Now the next thing I want to show you is, we'll just go back to just the regular in-between stage. Here I want you to focus on his hands, and notice how his hands transition. See right there, it transitioned to another hand pose, and then here to another pose, and then there back to the original pose. I was going to transition back and forth, but I decided, well, partially because I'm lazy and partially because I don't really need to do that. Here's what I did. I just took the hand pose that I liked the most, and I just animated it the exact same pose all the way through. And so rather than focusing on trying to draw a bunch of different fancy hand poses and stuff, I just decided to focus on giving his hand a little bit of natural movement. And you'll notice here, even when the rest of his body has stopped and there's no movement in it, his hand is still moving a little bit. And I did that because I want, right there, it's basically a leftover force from him moving on screen. And although the rest of his body has stopped, his hand and arm is still moving just slightly. That's one of the principles of animation. It's called follow through and overlapping action. But it basically adds a little bit of extra life, and I just want to point out that although his hand doesn't change, just using a few of the principles and adding a little bit of extra, or not extra, but just creating some natural movement even with a very static object like that, when it's animated and stuff, you can get away with a lot. So it's important to focus on the movement of objects more than it is to focus on the really the drawing, I think, personally. So, and if I remember right, that's about it. That's all I fixed. Fixed the tongue, fixed the head, and I fixed the hands. And so now this animation of him taking a lick is completed. Now that pretty much wraps up today's lesson. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need if you didn't catch anything, or if you want to review. And I will see you in the next video, where we are going to be going through adding audio and sound to your animations. And by then, hopefully, I'll have this animation completely done, and we'll be able to go through and add some sound effects, and also add maybe music. I haven't decided, but it might happen. So I will see you then.